Well, welcome to Bloom in Full Color.
Hi there.
Where we live life in ultraviolet. That's what I'm going to say today.
Ultraviolet?
Yeah, high
Why
definition.
ultraviolet?
I don't know. Because my brain can poop
Ultraviolet.
out a
Can
word
anybody
that
see
doesn't make...
ultraviolet?
That's fair. That's fair. High definition. HD. All right, live life in HD.
HD. There you go.
All right. Well,
is this 4K, Zach? No.
It's not. No, we're not that high tech. So you remember that shoestring budget from last year? Okay, so our episode today, Jennifer Moss, Dave Hawley. I should always introduce us. Okay, so eating seasonally, which we were just talking about the consumption of media off air here about how, there's local television, there's local radio. None of us consume that. I'm listening to Spotify. I'm listening to my Audible. I'm streaming podcasts. I don't listen to the radio.
And you look at it and you go, okay, so it's a generational thing, right?
Absolutely.
Well, no, I'm a generation
That's
above
what they
you.
say. Yeah.
Okay. And I am everything streaming as well. So who's watching TV anymore? Regular broadcasts.
To.
And who's listening to the radio?
Yeah.
At work where it's streaming, they've always had different streams, if you will, but different venues that you could buy time and get the elevator music and the such, right? So who does that anymore?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Well, that kind of leads to our topic.
Does it?
Kind of a little bit. Okay, so I stumbled into the functional medicine health space a couple of years ago when I was on the beginning of my journey of battling some autoimmune disease stuff. And I had a nutritionist say to me, she goes, well, do you eat seasonally? And I was like, excuse me, what? And she goes,
I eat all 4 seasons.
Yeah,
absolutely.
all the time. Well, she goes, well, do you just eat the same vegetables and fruit all the time? I was like, well, I kind of do. So I started to get in my head. I'm like, okay, let's think about this. Seasonal eating. So like right now we're sitting in spring or 5th winter, depending on what you want to call it. It's not terrible outside today, but it's been a very slow.
It has been.
Slow spring. I mean, it's, we're filming this on April 27th and there's not even tulips blooming yet, which is extremely unusual, which actually we should qualify that on our podcast. We are talking about gardening stuff for the Intermountain West. It is very regionally specific for us. Now, eating seasonal, I think, is too. So like what's in season now? It's asparagus. Strawberries are coming around the corner. They're a little late. Broccolis and cauliflowers are also coming, so are cabbages, but they're radishes, beets, you'll see carrots soon, onions, garlic and onions from the previous season. Right. So it's those early things. Peas are really in season right now. Beans, lettuces, your collard greens, your mustard greens, all that stuff. And so if you were to go to, say, if you were at a restaurant in one of those high-end cities where they have seasonal dishes, everything would be themed around the season. Right. I mean, pineapple's in season right now. Have you noticed pineapple's really cheap at the store? It's season.
I don't buy pineapples.
Why do you not buy pineapple?
I love pineapple, but it does things to my mouth.
Oh, you're one of those.
I'm one of those.
I see. Yeah. I feel that way about Captain Crunch. I won't eat it. I feel that way about Captain Crunch. I can eat myself sick on pineapple in a hot second. I love pineapple. It's one of my very favorite fruits.
It's great fruit.
Yeah, but it'll tear your mouth up if you've got the right. Isn't it an acidity thing? It is, absolutely. Because so if you've got your body, your micro, well, it'd be your biome of sorts.
So what do I do instead of pineapple?
Yeah, what do you do instead of pineapple?
Grapefruit.
That wouldn't be in season right now.
Oh, well.
You think?
Yeah, you can still get grapefruit.
Well, but is it in season? You can get anything year round in the United States.
This is true.
Yeah, let me play that game with you.
So when you look at
capitalism, you hear it from the people. Capitalism.
But when you look at that, if you can still eat seasonal, okay, you may have to look a little bit harder to find it if it's something that may not be in season right now. And I know where you're going with this, okay? But it's yes.
Okay, so you have a replacement for pineapple.
do.
We'll start there. It's
That
just
probably
kinda,
would have been easier. I have a replacement.
well, I'm not asking questions very clearly, as we've seen today. Differences. I'm like, hold on. I was badgering Dave for an answer, and I was like, wait, I haven't asked this question correctly. This is what I'm trying to ask. Like my communication
me on the
skills
spot.
suck right now. I'm working on it. All right. So seasonal food is just things that are harvesting when they're ripe in that season, right? So
They're ready right now.
yes, that are ready right now. So like tomatoes would be a summer and fall fruit.
Food to table. Think of it that way.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Farm
it's
to table.
harvested, and then you are eating it right then and there.
Absolutely. And so what's the advantage to eating seasonally? It tastes way better.
It's fresh.
It's fresh. It actually has the right nutrients in it. It makes your diet biodiverse. So what that means is, say if you ate a salad with romaine lettuce, cucumbers, and carrots and tomatoes every day for a year, there's no biodiversity to your diet. Your body adjusts to those those nutrients, and it gets pigeonholed, and you end up having deficiencies in other things. You don't usually realize it because we're American diet. Everybody's eating processed food, unless you're me and you've got all sorts of weird stuff you eat, or you're eating a lot of produce. Like I only eat vegetables, fruit, and protein right now. There's very few things that I think I eat. Plantain chips is the only thing processed that I eat, period. And there's not plantains here, so that's not seasonally friendly either.
And that's a hard thing to try to wrap your head around if
Absolutely.
you've never experienced any of that.
Oh,
You know, and
most people haven't.
Absolutely. And they will tell you, with the abundance of food that the United States has, just what we can produce ourselves, we have food deserts everywhere.
We're technically a food desert.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you say
we're called a
eating,
slow zone on a trucking. So there's not enough population base
Yeah.
here for them to justify trucks coming here.
yeah, exactly.
It's a pain in the
So
ass.
when you look at seasonal eating, in some cases it's really tough depending on
is.
where you're at. where
Well,
you're
and what
located.
resources are available? So now we're lucky because we're down here in the Magic Valley, in the smack dab in the center of Idaho at the bottom, right? So where Evel Knievel jumped, if you listen from far away. Now we have a couple of farm stands now that are open 6 days a week.
Right.
And thank goodness for that. But I mean, one of them just opened today, and she's got peppers and cucumbers.
Really?
Well, I
She didn't-
know
so she
that
had
she
to-
has greenhouses.
Oh, okay. So
but
it's a
I'm
greenhouse.
not
Okay.
sure. I'm actually, that
No.
is my stop after work. I'm going
Okay.
to go find out.
I would be
I'm
curious.
super curious.
Yeah.
And I know that the other one in town will open in June, and then the farmers markets will start in June,
Right.
and then you're going to see very seasonal produce. So you're going to see those
Support
early
your
stuff.
farmers markets.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so that goes back to the next thing. All right, so we're talking about you're getting grapefruit.
Yeah.
Does grapefruit grow in Idaho?
No.
Where does grapefruit grow?
The closest to us,
actually know.
the closest to us would be Texas or California.
Okay, so to get that grapefruit to us, how many times is it touched, and how much fuel, and how many resources, non-renewable, are used in that process?
Well, I think you got to look at it from the very beginning. Okay, so when you are harvesting fruits, let's put oranges in there in that same,
Okay.
because it's the same.
Citrus.
It's harvested early.
Yep.
Okay, it's going to
Before
ripen.
it's
It's going
ripened.
to ripen in a
Box.
box. Okay, it's going to get shipped to the farm's warehouse. Then it's going to be shipped to another warehouse.
it's
And
gonna
then if
be-
you're lucky, it's gotten to the store. But most likely it's going to go to that store's warehouse where it's going to be touched again to get to the store. Then it's going to wait a couple days before it's touched again to put on display.
and then
Okay.
the consumer has to grab it.
Right. So then you wonder why that when you get store-bought fruits and vegetables, why it tastes like it's cardboard. And we wonder why kids don't like fruits and vegetables because it tastes like
Cardboard. Yeah. Well, and then you find the ones you like. All right. So I don't like cucumbers outside of season unless they're English cucumbers.
well,
That's me, because I get so spoiled with good garden cucumbers during the season. It takes me months to be able to eat cucumbers after the season because I'm like, oh,
yeah.
And so maybe that's my body saying you've eaten enough cucumbers. You don't need these nutrients anymore. I mean, because you got to kind of pay attention to that too. Your body's going to tell you what it wants as long as you pulled processed foods out.
Right.
Processed foods will dictate your life.
And they
You-
have mine. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
You're actually learning through removing them right now.
Well, absolutely.
Slowly.
But in the 70s when I grew up, okay, and it goes back some time, this is when processed food was really coming into vogue, right? You've got to get that packaged candy bar or that packaged ding dong or whatever it was, and then it just stays with you. Okay. And now over the last 5 to 10 years, maybe that emphasis on seasonality, on fresh foods has come back. Why? Because we've become a nation of obesity.
Oh, absolutely. So I have one daughter. I have two daughters together. I have twins. And one of them will live on fruits and vegetables. She's fine. And she actually doesn't really like desserts. She'd pick a piece of fruit before anything else. Or a gummy. She likes gummies, but that's about she likes gummy candies and fruit. She's not really into chocolate unless it's Reese's peanut butter cup. So she's my kid that kind of eats very intuitively. My other daughter, she's very picky and textures are hard for her. So fruits and vegetables are tough some days. And, we've gotten through a lot of hurdles in the last couple of years, but when I started to create the narrative in my household that, hey, we're going to eat seasonally, let's try things that are ready right now, And so we started to go through things. So right now we're in a strawberry fanatics.
Which is great.
Yeah, I have two strawberries, and I could care less about strawberries. I would pick berries over that.
Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries are still very abundant. Okay. And most of them are coming over from Canada now at this point.
And they're huge right now.
Absolutely.
The colossals. Mm-hmm. And those aren't in season technically. They're being greenhouse grown. Absolutely from Canada. But I'm buying berries right now. You can guarantee it. But that's also what I have for dessert. So I have pineapples and berries and apples in my house. So pineapple is the only one of those that's in season right now.
And remember, apples were harvested last fall.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're starting to taste like that, just so that we're clear. They don't have the same crispness. I might as well. I bit into one the other day. I was like, hey, that's a little mushy.
Yeah.
That's not so good. So, and things ripen at your house a lot faster than they do at the store.
So now we've talked about all the evils of our supermarket vegetables and fruits, and that's not the case.
No, not at all.
There are a lot of supermarkets that do a great job at trying to bring in seasonal.
Oh, well, and haven't you seen that they're starting to say locally grown,
absolutely,
regionally grown,
absolutely,
and gravitate to those. Also, you can read on the little stickers. It'll say from Chile.
Right.
From Mexico.
Well, and I
eat avocados like they're going out of style all the time.
They're required to do that.
Yep.
We have to know where our food's coming from.
Well, and it's a good thing. And you're not going to find everything that you like to eat here locally. Let's just be realistic.
So
you're not going to find grapefruit grown in Idaho. I'm not going to find avocados grown in Idaho.
That's right.
It's not going to happen.
So what do we do when we want to do that? I mean, how do we source out this material that's locally grown so that we have access to it?
So there's a couple of different ways you can do it. So support your local farmers market. Absolutely. Because there's one other thing that we haven't talked about in here. How much water does it take to grow an apple, to grow a cucumber, to grow a tomato? It doesn't matter. Insert fruit, vegetable here. And then how much of your produce that you take home do you throw away? Mine's probably a quarter. So 25% of the water that's gone into the vegetables and fruit that I purchased has now been wasted in a world where water is king. So we're not helping the environment when we buy too much and we waste it. So there's that as well. And that could go into an entirely different conversation on beef or something. I'm not going to do that because we are in dairy country. Boy, howdy, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Because I believe in local economy, and our local economy in Idaho is agriculture. So that said, how do you do it? Farmers markets, farm stands, grow your own. That's always a good one. If you do not feel comfortable, start with one plant of something. See how you do.
And what was really good about COVID, and I don't have a lot of good things to say about COVID.
No.
Okay.
Not a lot
was that people got back into gardening again.
That was
and
a huge
growing
positive.
their own vegetables.
Huge positive.
And that is so cool to see.
Yeah.
When you can get kids involved in this and they're actually eating what they're growing.
Exactly.
And, this is where we need to become, in my opinion, in the country, is be more self-sufficient on us where we can, and then support the outreach programs with the farmers market, with the food pantries, with the extra harvest that you couldn't eat as a family.
Well, and have you ever done one of those bountiful boxes? Or I used to do in the off season. So I wouldn't do it during the spring and summer because I had access to everything. and fall. So it was just a winter thing. I do misfit markets to my house.
Okay.
And so it's like the ugly fruits.
Right.
There's Imperfect Foods, there's Thrive Market. And so that's another sustainable way to get it straight to your door and still utilize. But you really, I kind of like cooking like that. My grandmother and I actually were talking about this. So I'm from a family of good cooks, and each one of us learned differently, and we all have completely different styles. I am an off the cuff cook. I will use a recipe as a guideline and then I reinvent it and I tweak it. I never cook something the same every
I
time.
never do either. I'll
I'm
cook
just
it
not
right
that
the
way.
first time.
Yep.
And I will taste what it's like.
And then I'll tweak it.
Okay. All right. It's missing this.
Or
you know.
I want more of this, or
Right.
this is
Right.
garbage. Keep this out of here. And I'm off the cuff constantly. My grandmother is a by the recipe gal. End of story. It is to a T every time. But she's a damn good cook. She's a damn good cook. And then my mom's a blend in the middle, you know? She'll take risks and then she'll change her mind and go back to the original recipe. It just depends. And we all have different palates as well. I'm the one who's like fire breathing dragon, can handle some heat. And I like really weird foods and I like lots of colors that I understand eating by color. And so because each color has different nutrients for your body. So if it's an orange, it's got beta carotene. That'll help your eyes. That's got vitamin A. It's good for you. You know, that's why they always told you to eat your carrots when you were a kid, because it's going to give you better eyesight. And I had really thick glasses as a kid. And I thought more carrots I eat, the better I can get rid of these glasses. I was convinced that it's not. Well, technically it kind of did happen. I don't have contacts either.
Well, see, it's interesting that you brought up eating by color, because this is something that's been talked about more and more over the years. Okay. Whereas when I was growing up, it's eat your vegetables. Okay. And generally these were going to be vegetables that were
overcooked, steamed,
boiled,
mushy. Oh,
you know, and then
there's probably vegetable oil, which was terrible, bad, not good inflammatory vegetable oil.
It would be smothered in butter.
I can get down with that.
And it's like, okay, this is how I learned to eat vegetables, other than what we had in our garden with tomatoes and
fresh
things
right
that we
there.
grew. Okay. But the peas, the carrots and things like that, the green beans, all the stuff that we didn't either can or that we had to buy at the store, we would boil it.
Yeah.
And then we would smother it with butter. And my first wife did that the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
But with Mary, she says, why do
Mary's
you do that?
his second wife, just to
That's
qualify
my
that.
wife. We steam everything. And it was like, holy crap. This is what vegetables taste like?
So I roast everything. That's what we do at my house. So 425 on a sheet pan with a piece of foil. I'm not being environmentally friendly. I'm sorry. I'm lazy about washing dishes. And oil, when it cooks on a flat pan, is a bitch to get off. Okay. I roast everything. So 425 for 15 minutes is my base. If it's a more the broccolis, the cauliflowers, the cabbages, that family, cruciferous. Yeah, it's the family name. Anyway, when I do those, they're more like 20 minutes. Same with carrots, things that are more dense. I'll do a little bit longer.
You put like an olive oil
so
over it and just
I'll do
drizzle it
olive, coconut, or avocado.
Mhm.
Those are the only oils I'll cook with. I actually pulled butter from my diet. My family still eats butter, but I don't. It makes me very sick. It actually, I had a couple bites of my husband's steak at his birthday because he felt guilty because he wasn't hungry enough and I had already eaten my salmon and shrimp. But I am carnivore to the core sometimes. So I had a couple bites of his steak and it had been brushed in butter. I couldn't move the next day. My joints hurt so bad. And I was my belly was incredibly upset. But I'm allergic to dairy. But I always continued to eat butter, even though I was allergic to dairy. And turns out I just can't. So
I got to have butter on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So I love good olive oils and coconut oils and avocado oils. Coconut oil, if I eat too much, will hurt my belly. But avocado and olive, I do great with. And you know what? I'll make cabbage steaks. So just big slices of cabbage, roast it, and I cover it or brush it in oil, and then I put heavy seasoning. Like I am a seasoner. Like my family will go anywhere, whether it's a restaurant or to a friend's house, and they're just like, everything tastes so bland. I said, well, you have to remember that your stepmom or your wife, whoever I'm talking to, I really believe in good seasonings, and I season accordingly. I don't use sugars. I don't use sauces. I use seasonings. I use spices. I use herbs. We don't ever use table salt in my household, ever. I'll bake with kosher salt, but that's it. And I only do it sometimes. I use Himalayan sea salts or lava salts. I mean, I have an array of salts.
I mean, you look at all the recipes and things that are out there for vegetables and such, and you look at potatoes and you go, either, okay, I'm going to have fried, sliced, mashed, or baked, right? And my wife and I were watching a show, Mary McCartney, who's a vegan. She had this recipe where it was a rosemary oil baked potato type thing, and then smashed. She calls them mashed.
But yeah, they're just smushed, right?
Yep. So baked and then smushed, and then with just a pinch of sea salt.
They were good.
Oh my goodness!
I told you.
Yeah.
No, I really believe in that. And so when I love a farmer's market, because when you go to the farmer's market, everything's seasonal.
So what questions should we be asking of a vendor at a farmer's market? I mean, if you're concerned about, is this seasonal?
Yeah. Do you grow it yourself, or do you bring it in?
Where'd you bring it in from?
Exactly. Where'd it come from? So say you go to the Jerome Farmer's Market, because that's just a mile away. She's got blueberries. She gets them from Oregon. She drives over once a week and she restocks on her berries. Same if you go down to Blue Rock. And I think I've seen berries over at Countryside Market as well. Just can't remember. I got so excited the last time I was there when they had really, really hot peppers that I didn't see anything else the rest of the time. I'm very easily excitable when things are hot.
But for those that don't know, or if you've never visited a farmer's market, I would encourage it. These are small farms.
Yes, they are.
Most of them. Not, you go to the farmer's market in Boise and they're more of an established type farm. Okay. But a lot of these mainly are small farms, and I'm saying small, acre and a half.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Well,
where
have we ever gone to Fork in Boise together? That restaurant?
I don't think so.
There's also, is it Bitter Creek Ale? It's down on 8th. They're just kitty corner from each other, basically. There's a couple of restaurants. Juniper is one of them too. I've taken you to Juniper. Had habanero ice cream on his apple crisp. He didn't read the description. It was really funny. God, that was a hoot. I lost out on that. Okay, so what I'm talking about. All right, so we go to this show in January. It's the Idaho Horticulture Expo. And I was picking the reservation at that point, and I got fired after this, just so that we're clear. And it's because everybody was being closed-minded, if I'm being completely honest. Okay, so details. It's fine. That's all right. I can get fired from jobs every once in a while. I'm okay with that. I don't need to do everything. So Juniper's kind of cool because you go in and you look at their menu and everything's locally sourced. And same with Fork, it'll tell you this was grown 11 miles from here. This was brewed 12 miles
Which is
from
cool.
here.
I mean, I like
so
that.
Local. It's so local.
Imaging on that.
And we were at Juniper, and the chef obviously loved blue cheese because there was like every potato dish had blue cheese in it, as I recall. And then I had a raspberry simple syrup beet juice margarita that was delightful. And then, the dessert came around, and you and Paul Butler, our soil rep, and Steve Salzman, our old head grower, and I were sitting next to him. He's a pepperhead.
Yeah.
He's a hothead like I am. He's from Santa Fe. So him and I were like, oh, apple crisp with habanero ice cream. Hell yeah, we're in. We watched Paul and Dave order. We waited until it sat in front of him, watched him eat it because we were going to tell him. That was just way too entertaining. It was really, really good, but they did not agree. And then after that, everyone's like, we are never going to a restaurant Jennifer picks again. Well, that I have slowly brought them back to my side, but it took some time. But that's
learn to read the menu.
This is all the details. Those are really important things. But I actually, when we were doing our ladies' night a couple weeks ago, I was introduced to a program that our ISDA, so the Idaho State Department of Agriculture, does with their marketing arm, Idaho Preferred, that's called the Farm to Chef Collaborative. So across our mile, there's this little family farm that's called Peter's Family Farm, and they actually get a couple things from us. Well, they were connected via this program with Idaho Preferred with a local restaurant downtown, Yellow Brick Cafe. And so Peter's Family Farm produce is served on her menu and incorporated into her menu based on what's ready. And so that's a great way to eat seasonally as well, is work with restaurants that work with local farmers.
Right.
And I mean, it makes a difference, and the food tastes better. I mean, you're going to have a beautiful arugula leaf salad that's all locally, grown with a piece of salmon and mangoes on it with the ginger vinaigrette. That's actually what I ordered there last time. And, salmon didn't come from Idaho. That's farm raised somewhere else, I'm sure.
Right.
It might be wild caught. I don't know. I doubt it. They would have listed it as wild caught, and I'm sure it would cost me more. And then mangoes don't grow here.
Right.
They're probably coming out of Hawaii. And so there's definitely ways to incorporate local produce, but still get that diversity, still be able to put grapefruits and stuff. And then what I've learned lately, it's so stupid easy to make dressing. So every store-bought dressing has an inflammatory oil in it for me, or it has dairy. I can't do it. Or it has sugar, or it has salt in your case, because you're avoiding salt.
Right.
So I just get my little bullet blender, and every couple of days I make a new dressing. It's like an acid of fat and some seasoning, and you've got good flavor. Maybe a shallot, I love shallots. They're my favorite onion. So that's, I encourage people, but I've forgotten to finish the story with my daughter. I just realized it. Okay, so we have the conversation going about eating seasonally. My daughter will ask me all year, when are the pears ready? When are the pears ready? Because she only wants to eat pears. So when pears are in, she's usually forgotten by this point. And then I'm like, eat the pears, please. So it's kind of fun because you can introduce your kids, your family, your friends, whatever, to new produce that they wouldn't normally choose.
And get them started early.
Yeah.
Because then they have all these preconceived notions that nothing's any good. So that's
it's so funny when
it's green.
I hear my kids come back or I run into one of their friends' parents and they're like, oh my God, your kids had such good manners. They were so well behaved. And I'm like, really? Because they're not like that for me. They're actually awesome kids. I'm stupid lucky. But it's been interesting to hear different parents, because you got a house full of 4 or 5 kids and you're a single mom or you're 2 working parents. Like macaroni and cheese is probably dinner for a few nights a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's out of a box. It's out of the freezer. And that's not how my household runs.
What I've always enjoyed is when I've gone to the farmers markets and yes, Jerome, we have one and there's one in Twin and I've been to the one in Boise quite often. But what you see today as compared to say 20 years ago when they were really just kind of getting started is it's a family outing now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's an
not
activity.
Just the woman of the house shopping.
Yeah.
The husband is there or boyfriend or girlfriend and they've brought the kids there. And they're just as excited to be there as well,
Yeah.
and looking and trying all this stuff. So it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. We're making a transition. It's awesome. Well, and what I would say is a lot of people go, oh my gosh, you two must just have so much time to cook everything from scratch. Here's the thing. It's not that hard. And it actually takes less time. And you're doing less of an environmental footprint. You're helping your family. You're setting them up for success with healthy food. I mean, so my roasting of vegetables takes 2 minutes. I cut it, I put it on the pan, I spray it with olive oil, I season, I put it in the oven. Done. Pot of rice, chicken in a pan. So all I really had to do was prep and cook the chicken. And then boom, we're ready. Now we always have a big bowl of pasta, or not pasta. No, not pasta. Salad in the fridge, just ready to go in case somebody wants a salad. And we just have to go through it. And then anything that's left over is my lunches. Or, we'll always have one left over a night a week because I don't do well on portion control and there's always too much food. But yeah.
Not you.
Yeah. Well, I don't eat that much. I just cook too much. So it's kind of fun once you start to realize how easy it is to cook.
So would you say shopping at farmers markets is more expensive or less expensive than going to the supermarket?
I think it depends on what you're buying. So if you're me, it's cheaper because I'm not buying all that processed junk. There's not chips at my house. Right. I mean, well, there's some chips, but it's minimal. There's not junk food at my house. There's not candy. There's very little canned goods anymore. Actually, I've worked away from that as well. I have to have boxes and sauces of a couple of things. And I've always got a full pantry. I'll never go hungry at my house. But
I don't think I've ever complained about prices at a farmer's market for fruits and vegetables.
No, I can get super carried away and buy too much because I get so excited.
Sure.
And then I have to rush to figure it out. And that's kind of why, when you get a bunch of vegetables that are just starting to I got to use this in a day or two. Like the pepper's starting to get wrinkly, but it's still fresh. It's not quite bruised yet. It's not molding. Throw everything in a stir fry or just roast it on a pan. I mean, come to find out, my husband is anti-cauliflower right now, and cauliflower is one of my very favorite vegetables. But my family loves broccoli, and believe you me, that took a while. When I met my husband, my kids were 4. Um, yeah, everything was out of a box or processed, and it took me about 3.5 years of introducing them to butter and salt on vegetables, and just consistently cooking them, and just saying, all right, you have to take a couple bites.
Right.
And I just always am like, try new things. We got to just keep going. And now they love it. Well, come to find out, my husband loves roasted bell peppers. And I wouldn't even thought about that because my girls cringe from it and I could care less either way. It's just a colored pepper. And I don't like green bell peppers unless they're in a sauce. And I've talked about that before. But the colored ones are awesome. And then they go really well with the steak. So then he's getting everything he wants and he's getting vegetables. And so you just kind of have to play around and figure out what works for your system. A lot of people that I know swear by air fryers or by pressure cookers, like an Instapot. And then it's a short amount of time for prep because weeknights are hard.
Right.
And I've got kids in soccer and swimming right now. Like I got 4 days of the week, sometimes 5 if there's a weekend game, where I'm slammed. And then I'm working here the 60 to 80 hours a week, depending on what's going on. And that leaves no time for me. And so if I can have an easy dinner solution, it's best case scenario. So what I'll do is
in that pot. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And so sometimes I'll just take a big pork loin on the weekend. I'll throw it in the crock pot or Sunday night, and then I turn it off Monday morning. I'll shred pork. And how I do that is I just put it in the crock pot and I sprinkle salt, Himalayan sea salt over it, and I let it cook in its own juices. I'll check it to make sure it's producing juices. I don't fry a crock pot pan. And then I'll sometimes do a pot of soup if it's cold time of year. So I always have a pot of soup and pulled pork or pulled meat so that you have an easy go-to. And I am a master at reinventing leftovers. So like last night, I needed to have something before I went to a meeting. I brought out cassava tortillas because I can't have anything else. So I had cassava tortillas. I took the chicken thighs from 2 days ago. I diced them up. And then I took the roasted broccoli, cauliflowers, and carrots that are all kind of seasonal right now. I warmed those up and diced them. And then I took my miso dressing, tossed it all in there, and put it in a taco with some avocado and some shredded cabbage in it. And then I had dinner. I was set. And then for dessert, I had a can of olives because I'm a weirdo. That was last night. It's fine.
I like olives out of the can. I'll do that. If I had this vision, this grand vision, right? It would be for everybody that's watching. If you've never been to a farmer's market, go out.
Yeah.
See what there is out there.
Well, and they usually start in June to help you guys. You're not going to find one right now. No. But you will find one in June. Put
that mental note down, late May, early June, they'll start opening up. Go visit them and support them. And then I've always thought here at the greenhouse, we've got a nice footprint here to actually be able to host a farmer's market.
I'd love to do that.
And then go to that next step. And I've talked to you about this a lot, about having that Epicurean dinner in the greenhouse from the farmers markets, the local.
I still think we can pull that off.
And that would be so cool to have that type of an event in such a small community.
And that's how you go to Idaho Preferred annual meeting. Everything's local. Everything's from the producers. And that's just the coolest part of it.
Yeah.
Well, and remember, when you go to farmers market, they're usually in the morning. That's not always true. Sometimes they're on like a Tuesday night from 4 to 7. Because I know like the one up in Ketchum is like that. It's on a weeknight.
Right.
But get there first. Get there early. I'll actually, on my weekends, once the farmers markets are going, I hit them between 9 and 9:30 because they start at 9. And I get what I can at the farmer's market before I even go do my grocery run. So I actually won't order my groceries until I've been to farmer's markets so that I can see what I can find locally. And I regularly do that. And then if you get to know your farmer's market folks, they will go out of their way to accommodate you. Like Kathy was here at our ladies' night. She runs the Jerome one. I didn't get honey because I was too busy running the event with you and BJ. So she brought me honey the next day at my office, and I had cash for her. So I have 2 new honeys at my house. And I'm trying to be greedy and not share. I don't need all that honey. Nobody in my family's opened it. And if you are using local raw honey, it usually has the allergens that are in your environment, and it will help you fight seasonal allergies. There's tons of health benefits.
Yeah.
All right. Did I find it? Yeah. And search for, say you got a produce that you haven't tried before? This is something I always do. So this is your homework as we wrap up this episode. So I always pick a fruit or vegetable that I don't necessarily like or I don't have any experience with, and I try something new. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So
Now, our co-host isn't here today.
no, PJ.
PJ.
Yeah.
And when he came to us a few years ago, he had his wife, or maybe it was him. He cooks up this mean dish of parsnips.
Yeah, it was probably, I couldn't remember if it was parsnips or turnips.
Parsnips.
It's parsnips.
And, everybody, but it's actually pretty good. So, take something that you haven't tried and try it.
Well, and I take golden beets, not the red ones, because the red ones are just too standard beet-ish, and I like beets. My mother would tell you they taste like dirt. They're disgusting. I actually dice up gold beets and sweet potatoes, and I put them in eggs and with regular potatoes.
Like an omelet type thing?
Exactly.
Or a hash?
And my family thinks they're sweet potatoes. So I sneak beets into a lot of things. My husband's finally figured out. He's like, "Did you just put beets in there?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you ate them and you liked it." And he's like, "Well, as long as it's not cabbage." I once put cabbage in the breakfast scramble I used to do. Oh, buddy, I thought it was going to be the end of the world. We were going to get divorced over cabbage. It might have happened. He does not like cabbage. Now, if I make unstuffed cabbage roll soup with sausage, he doesn't mind that. But it was hard boundary I crossed with the breakfast scramble. So, and try something new.
Yeah.
Try something new. Okay, so guys, if you're not already subscribed to us on one of the channels that you regular access podcasts, we're on YouTube and all other streaming channels that have podcasts. Please share, listen, share with your friends, listen when you get an opportunity.
Share, like, subscribe.
There we go. I was like, God, I need to come up with a catchy. Maybe I'll have to have Zach come up with the exit so that I don't screw it up every single time. Otherwise, one of these days we need to do a bloopers reel of all the silly crap that comes out of my mouth. I've been pretty good. I haven't been on the cuss train lately, so trying to pull it together. All right. With that, guys, I wish you a wonderful spring. Hopefully it's a nice weather where you're at while you're listening to this, but find something that you haven't cooked before or you haven't eaten before and try it.
Support your local markets. Thanks for watching.
Yes. Thanks, guys. And we invite you to go live life in full color because plain is pretty boring. Thank you.